Hey everyone, have you been searching for a reliable sewage pump that actually gets the job done without breaking the bank? If you're dealing with basement flooding, some pump failures, or just need a solid backup for heavy-duty water transfer, this 115V 1/2 HP cast iron automatic sewage pump might be exactly what you're looking for. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the cast iron construction here is a big deal. Unlike those flimsy plastic pumps you see everywhere, this one is built to last. I've used it in my own workshop for months now, and it's held up against everything from dirty water to small debris without a single issue. The motor is powerful enough to handle solids up to 1.5 inches, which is perfect if you're dealing with sewage or gray water that isn't completely clean. I've had my fair share of experiences with cheaper pumps that just couldn't handle the job, either because they were made of low-quality materials or because they were just not designed to handle the kind of loads I was throwing at them. But this one has been a game changer. Another thing I really like is how automatic it is. It comes with a float switch that turns the pump on and off as needed, so you don't have to babysit it. I set this up in my basement last summer, and it kicked in automatically during a heavy rainstorm while I was out of town. Saved me from a major headache and a flooded floor. The float switch is adjustable too, so you can fine-tune how sensitive it is based on your setup. This is especially important if you're using it in a situation where the water level is going to be fluctuating a lot, like in a basement with a high water table or in an area with frequent storms. Installation is straightforward if you've ever done any basic plumbing. The pump comes with a 10-foot power cord, which is plenty long for most setups, and the discharge port fits standard 2-inch PVC pipe. I had mine up and running in under 30 minutes, even with a few minor adjustments to the float switch. If you're not comfortable with DIY, it's still simple enough that a plumber could install it quickly without charging you an arm and a leg. One thing to keep in mind is that you will need to make sure the pump is properly vented, especially if you're using it in a tight space like a basement or crawl space. But overall, the installation process is pretty painless. One of the biggest benefits of this pump is its versatility. It's not just for sewage, you can use it for dewatering basements, draining pools, or even moving water in a fish pond. I lent mine to a neighbor who was dealing with a backed-up septic tank, and it handled the job like a champ. The 1/2 HP motor gives it enough oomph to push water uphill or through a long hose without losing pressure, which is something cheaper models struggle with. I've also used it to drain my hot tub when I needed to do some maintenance, and it made the process a whole lot faster and easier. Noise level is another plus. I was worried it would sound like a jet engine in my garage, but it's actually pretty quiet. You can barely hear it running unless you're standing right next to it. That's a huge relief if you're using it in a space where noise is a concern, like a workshop or a living area. I've had it running in my basement while I was working from home, and I could barely hear it over the sound of my keyboard typing. This is a big deal for me, because I hate being distracted by loud noises while I'm working. Now, let's talk about a couple of things to keep in mind. The float switch is great, but if you're using this in a tight space, you might need to adjust the float arm to make sure it has enough room to move. I had to tweak mine slightly to avoid it getting stuck against the side of the basin. Also, while the pump is durable, it's not designed for continuous heavy use. If you're running it non-stop for hours on end, you might want to give it a break now and then to prevent overheating. This is just common sense, but it's worth mentioning because it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of having a reliable pump and forget to take care of it. In terms of maintenance, this pump is pretty low maintenance. You'll need to check the float switch periodically to make sure it's still working properly, and you should also check the impeller and volute for any signs of wear or damage. So if you're in the market for a sewage pump that won't let you down, this one's worth a look. Check it out using the link below and let me know in the comments if you've tried it yourself. I'd love to hear how it worked for you.